So if you'll bear with me, I'm going to take I hope I will have your grace in talking a little bit about this last year and as to why I abstained tonight from the vote for Mike. So first of all, this last year has been, I just don't even know how we could have had a busier year. Our longtime beloved in many respects by many people, Executive Director Ken Kushner, resigned in July 2025. Kim Farrell took over as interim executive director when Ken Kushner left through the end of the year in 2026. And then Mike Smith took over as interim executive director January 2026 to the present. And during that year, we began meeting with Anderson Township trustees and administration, and then we included the Board of Education to enhance our relationships and work together as a community of leaders. It's been a long time since we've been able to do that, and I think we're all encouraged by that progress. We did a community engagement study, primarily focused on Beach Acres property, with the help of our partner Branstetter Carroll. We did an economic impact study as to the parks and the community, how we impact the community, with the help of the University of Cincinnati. We continued with our capital improvement projects, and I'm going to leave some things out, so forgive me. These are the things that are highlights in my mind. We continue with our capital improvement projects from our capital improvement levy, most notably the all-weather fields and the lighting down there, and it's a big hit for sure. A majority of the board voted to not continue to support Anderson Day beginning in 2026. But we did start a new event called Oktoberfest in partnership with our amazing Parks Foundation and other community leaders. And I think we owe a special thank you to Jason Brewer. He has such a great name for being being in the beer industry, from Wandering Monsters, because it was his vision. He just needed help getting it started. And we had a great inaugural event, and it's continuing this year, and it's going to be bigger and better than ever. We passed our operating levy, thanks to first the leadership of an amazing levy committee headed by community leader Ann Zimmerman and former board member Dominic Wolfer. Also with the support of our dedicated, hardworking park staff and our supportive community. And what all these groups have in common, the levy committee, our staff, and the community, is they love our parks. They love our parks. We know you love our park staff. We know it. And again, finally, tonight we hired Mike Smith as our executive director. So we've done a lot this year. It's been quite a year for sure. And again, throughout all these events, the one constant in work ethic, in spirit, in support, and in heart was our staff. Thank you to the staff. And I hope there are only a few of you here tonight, but I hope this message is passed on, either through the tape or the video. Voting for Mike tonight was, I gave a lot of thought about what to do, and I think you all know that I've struggled. When I say you all, I think the board knows. When we began this journey, I wanted nothing more than for us to be unanimous on who our next executive director is. I think it's really important as a board to be unanimous in such an important decision, which is, again, why I want to explain my abstaining vote. Again, Kim began with us in April of 2024. Ken resigned July 2025, and the board appointed Kim as interim. Kim had really been doing a lot of the work already because of some issues where they required Ken to be elsewhere, and so she really began in that role even before she was officially appointed. Kim got us to the end of the year, excuse me, with two major things: a brand new event, which was Oktoberfest in September, and a successful operating levy campaign in November. The board decided at the end of the year, because Mike also was interested in the permanent ED position to give Mike a chance. And we all agreed, it was unanimous, to give Mike the same opportunity that Kim had. Around March and April, the board began earnestly talking about, well, what do we do now? We had 2 people that performed admirably during their tenures. What do we do with the executive director position? But we didn't have consensus. So the conversation went to looking into hiring a search firm, and to thoroughly explore all possible candidates, including Kim and Mike, if they wanted to enter the effort. Amy and I were tasked with the work of bringing options to the board. We first went the path of looking at a private firm, and all of this is public record. It's all public record. I'm not saying anything that I ought not talk about. So please feel comfortable with listening to this. We first went the path of a private firm. We learned there are significant differences between private firms hiring efforts for private companies and public interest government-oriented firms. And also there's a vast difference in how much we would spend. It was almost, I think, 4 to 5 times as much with a private firm versus a public firm. We came to a dead end on the private firm. So on April the 7th at our regular board meeting, we landed on hiring Oprah to do, that's Ohio Parks and Recreation Association, to do the search as experts in the field and the contacts they have throughout the state of Ohio and beyond at a fraction of the cost of a private firm. Amy and I were again tasked to bring an agreement with Oprah back to the board, and we had a special meeting scheduled for that purpose on April the 28th. We informed staff, well, let me back up a minute, I need my glasses. The day after our April 7th meeting, the day of the April 7th meeting, we informed Kim and Mike that we were going to use a search firm. And the very next day, we informed staff that we were going to do a search. And when I say staff, I mean senior level staff, and senior level staff communicated to their staff. And again, the purpose was to suss out, that's S-U-S-S, suss out all potential candidates, including Kim and Mike, through an informed, thorough, professional process. Amy and I went back and worked directly with the Oprah Executive Director, Woody Woodward, and we got an agreement. We went back and forth, I think 3 or 4 times, and we got an agreement, and it was a good agreement. And we also had input from our attorney, Amy and I did. And I just want to share with you all some of the things that were in that agreement. And I know the board has had a chance to read it, but not everybody maybe did. Things that Oprah was going to do for us. First, a needs assessment. Oprah would complete a comprehensive needs assessment to guide Oprah and the board through a search process, including facilitating a work session with the board to determine specific competencies the board seeks in an ideal candidate, conducting confidential interviews with key staff members and up to 5 key community leaders to gain their perspectives on the district and on the qualities they seek in an ideal candidate. Oprah also promised to interview all full-time staff, from the interim executive director to the people that cut the grass, all the full-time staff. And in light of these conversations, Oprah was going to make suggestions with regard to the position description, crafting a job announcement, and designed to attract the highest level candidates. The second thing they were going to do is recruitment. They would take every possible step to ensure the most qualified candidates from Ohio and throughout the region applied, including posting the position on all Ohio Regional and National Parks and Recreation Association recruiting sites and local government administration websites, utilizing an extensive network of Ohio regional and national parks and recreation leaders to identify additional candidates for the position. And they said they would leave no stone unturned. They would use social networking with media outlets like LinkedIn, Indeed, and Jigsaw. Some of these I've never even heard of. I'm not a big on social networking. To locate and contact both active and passive prospects for this position, including, at a specific request of our board, prospective candidates from outside the parks and recreation industry. Oprah agreed to serve as the collection point for all resumes and provide the district with periodic updates. The third thing Oprah was going to do, and I'm more than halfway through with this, I promise you, is evaluation. Once the position closed, Oprah would conduct an initial screening process of all candidates within 48 hours, identifying top candidates based on knowledge of the park district, the position, and the credentials presented by each candidate. Oprah would lead the board through the process of deciding which candidates to interview, including scheduling initial interviews, preparing summary and resume for each candidate, preparing a common list of questions for the board, leading the screening through the initial interview process and selecting 2 to 4 finalists, scheduling second interviews with each of the final candidates, preparing a common list of questions for the board for those candidates, preparing a writing response exercise with the final 2 to 4 candidates, and working with the board through the interview process with, with the 2 to 4 final candidates. Determining with the board additional interviews if they are required, and supporting the board through the selection. The fourth thing Oprah would do was reference check in cooperation with the park district, and prior to extending an offer to the selected candidate, Oprah would facilitate a detailed reference check on the candidate, including references provided by the candidate, a background check, and an extensive social media check on the candidate. Fifth thing, if we wanted it, Oprah agreed to conduct a negotiation, acting as an intermediary in the sensitive and detailed negotiating process. And the sixth thing, which was sort of my favorite thing, was that Oprah agreed to follow up, which was they would initiate regular contact with the new hire and the board on at least a quarterly basis for 1 year post-hire, as its role in ensuring a successful hiring and smooth transition. So that's what Oprah was going to do for us. So we come to the meeting on April the 28th, which is the special board meeting. Jeff was not here. Jeff was in Chicago, and the board pivoted, and the majority decided to hire Mike as an executive director instead of doing the search. We informed Mike and Kim. We informed Mike immediately that night. We informed Kim. I'm sorry, I don't recall. I believe it was the next day, but it might have been within 2 days, because I need to make sure that everybody that I could contact or who would contact me back was on board with my doing that. And we informed staff this morning. And then we put the resolution for hiring Mike and a draft contract online at 1 o'clock today. Kim did that. All that's background, which comes to the reason for my abstention. So I used to think when I was younger that abstentions were for times when, as a board member, you had conflicts of interest or you just didn't want to take a position. And as I've grown older and had more involvement experience in boards and volunteer activities, I have found that's not the case. I did a quick search just to check myself, and a pretty common definition of its abstention is the formal voluntary act of refraining from doing something, most commonly withholding a vote in an election or decision-making process. In voting, it's a choice not to vote for or against a motion, proposal, or candidate, often due to conflicts of interest, neutrality, or lack of support for the options. I'm at the lack of support portion, and I'll tell you why. I can't, in good faith, after our board decided on the course of doing a search and communicating that with staff that was the plan, which then became the staff's expectations and the community's expectations, I can't, in good faith, support tonight's vote and just ignore all that. Mike, I want nothing more than for you to succeed. to shine in your new role, to lead your staff with collaboration and compassion and by example, to propel the Park District through to its next chapter, especially in decisions regarding beach acres, which are still out there. I will support you and help you in any way that I can as a board member. I wish you only the best, because your success translates into a thriving Park District for our community. Thank you for indulging me.
Thank you.